की प्रक्रिया की जा रही है और इससे कहीं न कहीं हम पूरे शहर में कोरोना में अभी एक भी केस नहीं आया है, तो उसके लिए हम लोग कहीं न कहीं उनके भी आभारी हैं। हमारी कोशिश जनता से यही रहेगी कि कोई भी अफ़वाहों से बचें, क्योंकि कई लोग इसमें ऐसी अफ़वाहें भी फैला रहे हैं जिन पे बिल्कुल बिना सोचे समझे यकीन ना करें। और जब भी कोई एडवाइज़री यहाँ से जिला प्रशासन या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट द्वारा जारी करी जाए, तो उस पे ज़रूर ध्यान दें। आप सभी लोग अगर हमारे साथ रहेंगे, अपना सहयोग देते रहेंगे, तो ज़रूर हम इस कोरोना से लड़कर जीत हासिल करेंगे।
नमस्कार, दूरदर्शन में आपका स्वागत है और मैं हूं राहुल देव सिंह शेखावत। देश और दुनिया में कोविड-19 अपना कहर बरपा रहा है, उससे उत्तराखंड भी अछूता नहीं है। उत्तराखंड में क्या स्थिति है, कोरोना की इस पर बातचीत करने के लिए मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं उत्तराखंड के स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण महानिदेशक डॉक्टर अमिता उप्रेती। आइए उनसे जानते हैं कि क्या कुछ स्थिति उत्तराखंड में। अमिता जी, स्वागत है आपका।
नमस्कार।
सबसे पहला अमिता जी, मेरा सवाल यही है आपसे कि उत्तराखंड में जो अभी तक की जो स्थिति है जो कोरोना वायरस की है, उससे जो तमाम जो मरीज हैं उनकी स्थिति क्या है?
उत्तराखंड में स्थिति जो है आज की तारीख में काफ़ी कंट्रोल है। फिलहाल कंट्रोल कह सकती हूँ मैं। हमारे द्वारा जो स्वास्थ्य विभाग के द्वारा 15 जनवरी को जो भारत सरकार द्वारा एडवाइजरी जारी करी गई थी, उसी के क्रम में उत्तराखंड सरकार और स्वास्थ्य विभाग के द्वारा स्ट्रिक्ट मॉनिटरिंग कर दी गई थी और संभवतः जो नेपाल और इंडो नेपाल बॉर्डर्स थे वहाँ पर भी स्ट्रिक्ट मॉनिटरिंग शुरू में ही कर दी गई थी। उसी के मद्देनज़र शुरू में हमारे जो नज़र में आए वो 7 यात्रियों को संक्रमण की पुष्टि हुई, जो कि आज की तारीख में जो है स्वस्थ हैं और उसमें से हमारे कुछ यात्री जो 5 की संख्या में है वो स्वस्थ होकर घर भी चले गए हैं। इसी के बीच में जो तबलीगी जमात के लोग विभिन्न हमारी राजधानी से विभिन्न राज्यों में गए, उसमें उत्तराखंड भी अछूता नहीं रहा। उत्तराखंड में भी वो लोग आए और उनके द्वारा काफ़ी जिलों में इधर उधर चले गए वो। तो उसके क्रम में हमारी जो चिंता थी वो काफ़ी बढ़ भी गई और सतर्कता भी काफ़ी बढ़ा दी गई और हमारे स्वास्थ्य विभाग के द्वारा और उत्तराखंड राज्य के द्वारा समन्वय स्थापित करते हुए दूसरे विभागों का हमें बहुत ज़्यादा सहयोग भी मिल रहा है, जिसमें पुलिस विभाग, SDRF की टीम, पंचायती राज और समाज कल्याण विभाग और हमारे स्वास्थ्य विभाग के कार्यकर्ता और वॉलंटियर्स, हमारे जो पूर्व सैनिक हैं, जो रिटायर्ड्स हैं, उनका भी सहयोग हमको मिल रहा है और हमारे द्वारा जो है स्ट्रिक्ट सर्विलेंस कर दी गई है और बहुत सारी सर्विलेंस टीमें बनाई गई जो कि डोर टू डोर जाके चिन्हित करके जो है लोगों को देख रही हैं और इसी के क्रम में काफ़ी लोग वो जमाती लोग जो हैं हमारे द्वारा जो है क्वारंटीन करे गए और जिनका जो है कोविड पॉजिटिव टेस्ट आया तो उनको डेडिकेटेड कोविड-19 वार्ड में उनको जो है भर्ती किया गया। आज की तारीख में उनकी स्थिति स्वस्थ है।
बिल्कुल, मैं आपकी बात को थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ाना चाहूँगा। एक सवाल आपसे करना चाहूँगा कि उत्तराखंड में चूँकि देशव्यापी फिनोमिनन है, तो उत्तराखंड में इससे लड़ने के लिए या इससे जो स्थितियाँ हैं वो किस किस्म की तैयारी अभी तक की गई है?
पूर्व में ही हमारे द्वारा जो है जब से वुहान सिटी में ये वायरस हुआ था कोविड-19, तो उसी के क्रम में हम लोग भी एक्टिवेट हो गए थे और उसी के क्रम में हमारी स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं हमने काफ़ी हद तक सुदृढ़ कर ली गई थी, लेकिन इतना पर्याप्त नहीं है क्योंकि अभी जब से ये केसेस बढ़े हैं और किसी भी आउटब्रेक की संभावना से इनकार नहीं किया जा सकता, तो उसकी तैयारी करना अति आवश्यक भी है और उसमें स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं का विस्तारीकरण भी करना अति आवश्यक है और शुद्धिकरण करना भी अति आवश्यक महसूस हो रहा है। तो उसी के क्रम में हमारे द्वारा पिछले 15 दिन से जो है युद्ध स्तर पर कार्य किया जा रहा है और उसी युद्ध स्तर में हमारे द्वारा आइसोलेशन वार्ड्स को बढ़ाया गया है और कोविड डेडिकेटेड वार्ड्स जो हॉस्पिटल्स हैं उनकी भी संख्या जो है सभी जिलों में कर दी गई है और ICU की स्थापना भी करी गई है, जो कि आपको अगले 10 या 15 दिन में बिल्कुल आपको सफल धरातल पर कार्य करते हुए दिखेंगे।
अमिता जी, एक सवाल महत्वपूर्ण है कि जो टेस्ट जो तमाम जो कोविड-19 का टेस्ट है, उस टेस्ट की उत्तराखंड में क्या सुविधाएं हैं, क्या स्थिति है?
उत्तराखंड में फिलहाल आईसीएमआर के द्वारा जो गाइडलाइन है और जो उन्होंने अधिकृत कर रखा है उसके क्रम में जो है सुशीला तिवारी मेडिकल कॉलेज में हमारी लैब जो है फंक्शनिंग।
At home, their whole schedule goes for a toss. Now, if there are students who've been awake the whole night and that's the way they learn, or they're in their most resourceful state, maybe perhaps in the night, but they come back home, the parents have read about, wake up early, go into routines. These are all generic psychological tips that people keep giving. All of them, actually, it sorts of shakes them up. Because one thing internally inside them, there are a lot of things happening within them. And then when they have to be forced into such schedules, it actually throws them off guard.
Yeah.
So what needs to be actually done is let them be their own. Let them follow their schedule, their biological clock. Let's not overnight, change them into wake up at 6 o'clock, start doing this, yoga, meditate, go do this, go do that. See, it's half of it is the parents' anxiety themselves. So they don't know how to cope with it. So they put it onto the students and they think, okay, these children also need to be trained now. So they start introducing these new norms. But then if they're left alone, they will start doing a lot of things on their own. It's even for the students because some of them want to obey their parents. So they try these schedules and then they call me saying, they are not able to fit into that. There's something wrong with me, doctor. I'm not able to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Hello, you're watching DD News and I'm Preeti presenting Doctors Speak COVID-19, a special edition we get for you every day where doctors themselves answer queries and doubts put forth by you on COVID-19. The centre has announced the guidelines a day after it extended the lockdown till 3rd of May. 170 hotspots and 207 non-hotspots have been identified in the country. The deadly virus continues to expand its fangs as it stares at a hapless world. The best precaution is to keep yourself isolated, maintain social distancing, and also follow hand hygiene. We are joined in by Dr. Naveen Nischal. He is Associate Professor for Medicine, AIIMS. We're also joined in by Dr. Nitesh Kumar. He is Assistant Professor and Nodal Officer COVID-19, Safdarjung Hospital through Skype. And also joining us through Skype is Dr. Sanjay Agrawal. He's the HOD Nephrology, AIIMS through Skype. And also you can put forth your questions to our doctors. You can ask them questions on the numbers that are being flashed on your screens. Added to this, please ensure when you ask question through the telephone lines, make sure that the volume of your television sets is on the low mode. Added to this, you can also ask questions to our doctors through Facebook and Twitter. So when we talk of the present situation, Dr. Naveen Nischal, the lockdown has been extended till the 3rd of May. Lockdown 2.0 is what we call it. Now, when we talk of the steps which have been put forth by the centre and the way the virus is still evident all through the world, where are we standing right now?
So this is the most, you can say, drastic step which could have been taken for containment of this virus, and that has been done, and this is the best we could have done. And considering the huge population of the country of almost 1.3 billion, Around 1,000 cases per day, I think we should take it any day as compared to what the rest of world is seeing. So we are doing good, but we can certainly do better if we can identify these hotspots and contain this infection in those hotspots only, and not allow it to mix with other zones which are not affected by this infection as yet.
Right. When we talk of the crisis, or before that, we've got our first caller on the show. Mr. Suresh Patil is joining us from Karnataka. Good afternoon, Mr. Patil. Please ask your question. Mr. Patil, if I'm audible, please ask the question.
हाँ नमस्ते जी, मेरा नाम सुरेश पाटिल है, मैं कर्नाटका हुबली से बोल रहा हूँ। अभी मीडिया पर्सन जो बात कर रहे हैं, उनका जो माइक रहता है, माइक और उनका फेस के बीच में कुछ भी नहीं रहता है। वही सेम माइक वो आगे वाला पॉलिटिशियन नहीं तो आदमी को इंटरव्यू जो करते हैं, उनको उनका आगे वो ये देते हैं, माइक देते हैं, तो उधर से वो ट्रांसफर डेफिनेटली हो जाएगा। तो उसके लिए क्यों कोई सवाल नहीं उठ रहा है, ये मेरा क्वेश्चन है।
Yes, but when we talk of the precautions which are being taken on our channel, we ensure that before the mic is transferred and is given to the next person, the mic and the other equipments which are used by the people in the studio, in the offices, in our newsrooms, they are properly sanitized. Mr. Suresh Patil, I'll put forth this question to our doctor who's joining us in our program today. The basic concern of which I understand from our caller is how to ensure that when you pick up a thing, there are possible chances of that being touched, that has got touched from a person previously. So this is again something related to the psychology of a person. How do we address this? Yes, Dr. Nischal?
Yeah, so it's a very valid question, and the question was ki what should we do when it's a high contact surface? Say he talked about mic. So agar jaise mic hai, somebody has touched it already, and when I am speaking, maybe the droplets are falling on this mic, and that can very well act as a source of infection to the next person who is going to use it. That's why whenever we are using anything which has high contact surface, which many persons are using, it's very essential that we sanitize all those things. And that's why this hand hygiene, the concept of hand hygiene, which we have been talking endlessly, that's coming to being. So whenever you are using any of such things, of course, if you are not sure whether it has been sanitized or not, of course, try to avoid using that thing. But if you can't avoid using those things, then of course, after using that, you will have to ensure that you wash your hand properly, or whatever surface it has touched of your body, that needs to be cleaned properly so as to minimize the chances of infection.
All right, we have our next caller joining us on the show. Mr. Mohit Marwaha is joining us from Bihar. Good afternoon, Mr. Mohit. Please ask the question.
To respected doctor from AIIMS, I would just like to ask one question. When the hydrochloroquine tablet is being given to the patient, why can't this tablet be given to the healthy people? And why the plasma test not been conducted by ICMR and by the AIIMS, so that those healthy people who are there after developing immunity in their body, those people who are infected by this COVID-19, they could be given that plasma from their blood, so that the immunity in those patients who are COVID-19 affected can become healthy earlier. Why that process has not been started by ICMR and the AIIMS doctor under the guidance of Dr. Ketan Pal?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, so see, we all have been talking that this is a novel virus, which is something new, and which we are still in research mode, you can say. These all treatment which we have talked about, they have a very, it appears very promising to everyone, reading in newspapers and media outlets and everywhere. But it's not that simple. If we talk about hydroxychloroquine, we have very weak or almost negligible evidence. We are just trying it out on research mode, whether it's going to have effect on those patients or not. So we cannot generalize this to each and everyone like that only, because it has certain side effects which we have to take into account. As far as you have talked about the convalescent plasma, which you have suggested as a way of treating such patients, of course we are working on that, and very soon a guideline for that will be released. And but again, I said it's not an easy thing that you extract plasma and just give it to somebody to ensure that he's cured of the disease. It's not that simple. But we are definitely working on that, and you will hear about these things in near future.
All right. We are also joined in with two doctors through Skype. And when we talk of the questions, you can ask questions on the phone numbers that are being flashed on the screens. Added to this, we're getting questions on our social media platforms. Dr. Nitesh, there is this question which comes in from one of our viewers. He says, is there anything called self-healing for COVID-19? Because 14 days is the window for the symptoms to get the confirmation, for you to get the confirmation that yes, you have you are infected with COVID-19. But there is also how true is this word which says that the symptoms go off on their own, because it is simply like flu-like symptoms which come to the fore. So can we really have self-healing for COVID-19?
Yes. So since you have yourself mentioned, symptoms are of flu-like. The only issue with this virus is it is very contagious to spread. It spreads rapidly and is affecting the people who are with comorbidities. Normal viral etiologies previous to this novel coronavirus used to get self-healed, like H1N1 pandemics. But then we started getting drugs and vaccines, so number of infections and number of people who are dying of this disease reduced gradually over the years. So any viral etiology, usually if they have a body immunity, tries to heal the infection. So that is how a normal healing can also be documented in this thing. But since the patient is contagious and is asymptomatic, he may not have the problem, but the other people whom he are in contact with, they may end up developing infection and its complication. That is why it is necessary to isolate even an asymptomatic who is diagnosed to be novel coronavirus positive.
All right, from here we'll go across to Dr. Sanjay Agarwal. He is the HOD Nephrology, AIIMS. Sir, we recently saw that guidelines have been issued for the patients on dialysis. Now, when we talk of the concern of these patients, very quickly enumerate for us the important precautions, special precautions which have to be taken by the patients who are undergoing dialysis.
You see, as per our guidelines which are there on the website of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, there are two issues. Number one, that if any patient who is due for dialysis, if he has got any symptoms suggestive of COVID-19, then he should inform the dialysis unit before coming to the dialysis unit, so that the dialysis unit is prepared to handle the patient. Because if he, on the screening area, if he is found to be a suspect of COVID-19, he needs to be ideally isolated and he needs to be dialyzed in a separate room, and he should not be mixed in other patients who have got no symptom of the infection. So that is one thing. And once they reach, if the patient doesn't have any symptoms suggestive of COVID-19, then even then every patient who comes to the dialysis unit, there is a recommendation that before entering the dialysis unit, he should be screened for a suspected COVID-19 in terms of any exposure to the confirmed case of COVID-19 or any international travel, which obviously at the moment is not applicable because of the lockdown. So the point is that any suspected patient should not be mixed with non-suspected or a normal patient inside the dialysis unit, because dialysis unit most of the time has got large number of a patient being dialyzed in a common room.
Right.
So if any patient has got a suspicion or a suspected COVID, he should not be mixed. So that is the main thing. And if there is a suspicion, ideally they need to be isolated and dialyzed in a separate room.
All right, from here we go across to our caller. Kapil Jaina is joining us from Mumbai. Mr. Kapil, welcome to the show. Please ask the question.
So that is the main thing, and if there is a suspicion, ideally they need to be isolated and dialyzed.
Hello? Hello.
Yes, Mr. Kapil, I request you to please lower the volume of your television set first.
Yeah. जब भी हम लोग मार्केट में जाते हैं, वेजिटेबल वेंडर है और शॉपकीपर, कोई भी शॉपकीपर को हम नेकेड हैंड में टच करते हैं, उसमें कंटेमिनेशन होने का चांसेस है क्या? नंबर 1 क्वेश्चन। सेकंड क्वेश्चन जो है, अगर हम लोग को हाइड्रोक्लोरोक्विन जो आप मेडिसिन में बताते कि ये थोड़ा हेल्पफुल है, तो हम हेल्दी पर्सन उसको प्रिकॉशनरी वे में ले सकते हैं क्या? ये मेरा 2 क्वेश्चन है।
All right, I would request Dr. Nitesh to address this question. Added to this, there is also this question coming in from one of our viewers. He says, is it risky to touch any object in the public early morning? What are the chances of the virus surviving on the objects, be it milk, essential commodities which we need every morning, bread, eggs, milk, butter. So how cautious do we have to be when we step out to buy these groceries in the morning?
Yes, while stepping out to buy the groceries, the main thing is maintaining your hand hygiene. That has been particularly stressed upon in every talk and in every briefing,
Yes.
even by the Prime Minister, that hand hygiene is the most essential. If your hands are clean, it is unlikely chance that you will catch the infection. As part of the milk, even every manufacturer of the milk, even the government of India has released a directive that milk is pasteurized and there is no chance that milk will contain the virus. So using the product is therefore not harmful at all. Picking up a product at the grocery shop, yes, definitely you should maintain your own hand hygiene and you all are safe.
All right, from here we go across to our other caller. Mr. M.K. Mishra is joining us from Kushinagar from Uttar Pradesh. Welcome to the show, Mr. Mishra. Please ask the question. Mr. Mishra, if I'm audible, please ask the question. मिस्टर मिश्रा, अगर आप मेरी आवाज सुन सकते हैं तो अपना प्रश्न पूछिए. And I think we've not been able to establish contact there with our viewer. We'll go across to our doctor in the studio, Dr. Neeraj Nistral. There is this question coming in from one of our viewers who says, is it possible to spread the virus through currency notes? This is one aspect. And another viewer has asked a question of what all precautions we have to take while visiting a bank. I would want you to address these two questions.
So, like I said in earlier question, ki whenever we are using high touch, any object which has high contact value or many people are using that, then there is always a chance of spreading infection to from one to other. And specifically with currency note, we have this tendency of counting it with saliva. So we are actually infecting the currency note. So it would be a wise way, I can say, that stop using saliva for counting currency, because you may be spreading this infection to your family members by doing that. So whenever you use or handle a currency note, it's always advisable to maintain your hand hygiene. That's the best way. Wherever plastic currency can be used, I mean online banking or net bank facility can be used, you use that thing and you will be safe. And regarding the second question was?
Yes, what are the precautions we need to take when
for
we visit
banking.
a bank?
Yeah. So again, social distancing is the most important aspect. You'll have to maintain distance from the other customers in the bank, and of course you have to wear mask, which is almost mandatory across the entire country. So behave as if you are infected, and it's your responsibility that you don't pass this infection to the others. That's why it's wearing mask and maintaining social distancing, or at least 1 meter distance between the other person, is the best thing you can do to avoid
Acting responsibly is not only good for you, but this is something which you can do for the society as well in these times. From here we go across to our next caller. Mr. Sachin is joining us from Jalandhar in Punjab. Good afternoon, Mr. Sachin. Please ask the question.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and good afternoon to all.
Yes.
Ma'am, is it comfortable if I ask question in Hindi?
Yes, yes. Please proceed. पूछ सकते हैं आप अपना सवाल हिंदी में.
थैंक यू मैम. डॉक्टर साहब, एक क्वेश्चन ये पूछना था. मेरे को लास्ट 15 डेज से सर थोड़ा स्टमक में पेन रह रहा है, और ऐसा फील होता है जैसे मेरे गले से लेके नीचे तक जो पाइपलाइन जा रही है उसमें फूड अभी तक मतलब है. तो इज इट ऑल्सो अ सिम्टम ऑफ कोविड-19? बिकॉज आई रेड समवेयर की एब्डोमेन पेन और कुछ ऐसे सिम्टम्स भी हैं.
All right. Yes, Dr. Nitesh, would you address this, please?
This case in COVID-19, we need to have a history of contact, or a patient who has visited a place which is basically having many cases of COVID-19. Symptoms are usually of upper respiratory tract, like sore throat, sneezing, and then gradually moves on to fever. In your case, having 15 days history of fever, with 15 days without fever, without sore throat, it is unlikely to be COVID-19 currently at suspicion. I would still request you to go to the nearest doctor and visit them, explain your complaints to it, because there are a lot of other questions which are to be answered before we tell anybody ki you are COVID suspect or COVID non-suspect. So I would request you to please visit the nearest hospital. Their doctors will ask you many questions, and if required, will also evaluate.
All right, Dr. Agarwal, when we talk of the transmission of the COVID-19, now people in their older age are more prone to the virus because of the low immunity. This is what has been time and again emphasized and has been highlighted. And people with people in older age, they have to take extra care of themselves. I would want you to specifically talk of how prone are the dialysis patients, you know, because there is lack of immunity in them as well. And also you've talked of the special measures which have to be taken when they step out for their dialysis. When we talk of the immunity factor, how prone are the dialysis patients for the virus?
So you see, the dialysis patient already have got end-stage kidney disease, and patients whose kidneys are completely damaged, all those patients are at a risk of any infection more frequently. And the dialysis further decreases the immunity. So these patients are not only at a higher risk of getting infection, but if they develop infection, the chances of a severe infection is much more in dialysis patient as compared to non-dialysis patient. So that is why dialysis patient has to have a special precaution other than the just social distancing, because the environment in which dialysis is being done is a common area where multiple patients are being dialyzed. So that is why these patients needs to take extra precautions.
All right, there is also this talk of how coronavirus is harming the lungs, destroying the lungs in particular. But there are also cases which have come to the front where doctors are finding its damage in kidneys as well, hearts as well, and also elsewhere in the body. Dr. Agarwal, would you address this?
Patient of COVID-19 can have a kidney disease. One is being a virus. Virus can directly involve the kidney and causes acute kidney injury, which means that the person before he acquired COVID-19, his kidney was totally normal. And when the patient developed COVID infection, his kidney get damaged because of the COVID infection. Second thing is that the patient with COVID infection has got involvement of multiple other organs other than the lung, which include liver and heart also. And because of that, developing serious infection, they often have got problem of the blood pressure, and their blood pressure drops. So because of the general sepsis and because of a serious state when their blood pressure drops, kidney get involved because of these two reasons also. But in the first reason, the chances of recovering kidney is very high if the COVID infection recovers. While in the second stage, when the other organs are involved and the blood pressure of the patient falls, then if the kidney get involved, that is usually a terminal stage when it is most of the time difficult to save the patient.
All right, a very valid and important point you raised. Now, when we talk of COVID-19, the first thing that comes to the mind is flu-like symptoms. As earlier also we talked of how it is cold, it is headache, it's sneezing, and generally it's flu-like symptoms. So, as you're talking of how COVID-19 can have a bearing on other organs of the body as well, when does a person need to see a doctor, or for that matter, when do we gauge that the kidneys are in danger and COVID-19 could be the culprit?
You see, although if we say from the beginning, to start with, lung is the primary site of involvement in the patient with COVID-19. But I can tell you that many times there may not be any lung symptom. And
Right.
we already know that a large number of patients with COVID infection are asymptomatic and they don't have any symptom at all. I will give you an example. We have got in All India Institute patients who were primarily admitted in cardiology department with a cardiac pain, and then they developed respiratory symptom and then found to have a COVID infection positive. And very similarly, a patient was admitted in the neurology department with a paralysis, and there was no respiratory symptom to start with, and in the hospital he developed respiratory symptom, and then the tests were done and he was found to be COVID positive. So point of importance is that a large number of patients may not have respiratory symptom but still have COVID infection. So that gives a very great challenge to the healthcare worker that
Yes.
in current scenario, the areas which are hot spot, every patient should have healthcare worker should have a very high index of a suspicion. And patient, while in the hospital, if they develop respiratory symptoms, they should also be suspected to have a COVID, and then the process as any suspected COVID patient is done in the hospital care setting, those should be done.
All right, from here we go across to our caller who's joining us from Jammu. Mr. Shivam Kishan is joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. Shivam. Please ask the question.
हेलो नमस्ते।
Yes, please ask the question.
मेरे को मैडम एक चीज बोलना है, जो बाकी पेशेंट्स हैं तो वो कहाँ पर जाएंगे?
मिस्टर शिवम, आपकी आवाज क्लियर नहीं है। पहले आप अपने टेलीविजन सेट का वॉल्यूम धीरे कर लीजिए।
ठीक है। मेरे को एक चीज बताना, जो बाकी पेशेंट्स हैं इस वक्त जिनको कोई डर्मेटोलॉजी की प्रॉब्लम है, कोई और प्रॉब्लम है, वो कहाँ पर जाएंगे?
यस डॉक्टर,
अदर पेशेंट्स कहाँ जाएंगे इस वक्त?
अभी ये थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी सिचुएशन है कि जब बाकी अस्पतालों में कोविड को लेकर बाकी व्यवस्थाएं अभी उस तरह से नहीं, सुचारू रूप से नहीं चल रही हैं, लेकिन जो भी आपके नियरेस्ट हेल्थ सेंटर है उसमें आप जरूर अप्रोच कर सकते हैं, और बाकी जो हॉस्पिटल्स हैं वो टेली कंसल्टेशन के थ्रू आपकी मदद करने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं। लेकिन जो भी नियरेस्ट हेल्थ सेंटर है, अगर आपको ऐसी कोई इमरजेंसी है तो वहां जाने से नहीं झिझकें, वहां पे जाकर जरूर आप जो भी मशवरा लेना चाहते हैं वो ले सकते हैं। हॉस्पिटल में मरीज जो रूटीन में आते थे उनको आने से रोका गया है, मना नहीं किया गया है कि आप बिल्कुल अगर कोई ऐसी इमरजेंसी हो तो आप हॉस्पिटल नहीं आएंगे। ऐसे इमरजेंसी में डेफिनेटली आपके पास, घर के पास जो भी नियरेस्ट हॉस्पिटल है वहां आपको जाना चाहिए।
All right, from here I'll go across to our Dr. Nitesh Kumar. He is also the nodal officer for COVID-19 at Safdarjung Hospital. So we've got this question coming in from one of our viewers. He says, have we entered the stage 3? My district has not been reported a corona hit one. So if any person from this area is feeling shortness of breath along with mild throat infection without having any travel history or contact with any infected person, can he or she be a corona patient with these symptoms?
See, a corona patient can only be diagnosed after testing. A patient can have shortness of breath and sore throat due to other causes also, like exacerbation of the underlying lung disease which patient may have already pre-existing, or a normal flu which is also concomitant along with corona at this point of time, which is a usual seasonal time for the flu season. So the patient should always report to the health center that I am having these symptoms. The health center will take the necessary action required. If the underlying disease is there, they will treat it for it, and if required, they will do the necessary things. So patient should always, any patient having symptoms should always report to health center and should not just sit at home and wait for symptoms to get worse.
All right. So you need to be aware, you need to be cautious. Dr. Neeraj, when we talk, Dr. Nitesh talked of the symptoms and how you have to be careful. Now, I would want you to address this question coming in from one of our viewers who asks, have we entered the stage 3? of the transmission, and also apprise our viewers as to what is stage 3 community transmission. Is that what we call stage 3?
So see, we are obsessed with this staging of this pandemic. So let me be very clear. India is a very huge, big country, you can say. So if saying ki India has entered a particular stage will not be a correct thing. Of course, we have some certain hotspots where there may be local transmission. But as such, saying that the whole country has entered stage 3, then I don't think that's actually true. And this staging per se, we already have 3 weeks of lockdown, which has been extended further. Then that's the most drastic step which can be taken. So why are we bothered about whether this is stage 3, stage 2, stage 4? This is not a cancer that staging is going to alter
Have
things
an
like
impact,
that. Yeah.
right.
Ultimately, the herd immunity is going to play an important role in containing this pandemic. So this stage, I don't think it should be discussed so much at the moment, and we should not. This general public should not bother about which stage it is.
Yes.
And let the epidemiologist and the program who are deciding the various way of handling this thing, let them worry about that. So general public should not worry about the stage of the disease per se, what I feel.
From
And
yes.
just one more thing, whenever a patient has shortness of breath, whether you are suspecting COVID or not, definitely you have to take opinion of the nearest healthcare center. You should not wait for symptom to worsen further.
All right. So you have to be aware, you have to be careful, and added to this, you have to take the precautions so that you not only keep yourself safe, but also people around you. At this point, our caller is joining us. We're joined in by Ms. Jigyasa Kumari from Uttar Pradesh. Good afternoon, Ms. Jigyasa. Please ask the question.
And good afternoon, doctor.
Yes, please.
I have 3 questions. My first question is COVID-19 a disease that can be transmitted from a mother to her fetus? And if yes, are there ways in which this disease can be detected in the fetus? My second question is, supposing a mother is suffering from mild COVID symptoms, is it safe for her to breastfeed her newborn baby? And my last question is about prone positioning, that is positioning a patient on his or her stomach. I want to know its application in COVID-19 treatment.
Right. Dr. Nitesh, should you ask these questions which have been put forth by our caller? What precautions have to be taken by a new mother when she breastfeeds the child, given the fact that she has got mild symptoms of the virus?
No, first, if the mother is diagnosed to be COVID-19, then as per guidelines, she has to be isolated and kept separate from the child. So this is one thing. Having only symptoms and not a diagnosis does not warrant her to not to breastfeed a child. So, but when she is a diagnosed positive case, then a child and mother has to be kept separately. Just like a normal thing, any positive patient has to be isolated. Second question about antenatal diagnosis of COVID-19 in a placenta when the baby is not born. Currently, there has been no such study or no such evidence to diagnose COVID-19 antenatally. Whatever cases in the world we have seen and they have been reported, it is only after the birth of a child when mother was diagnosed positive, they are testing the child also at the time of birth of the baby. If before the delivery of the baby, if mother is positive, there are currently no such reports where they have antenatally tested. Third question about COVID-19 and prone positioning. See, prone positioning is only for the patients who are very sick, who are in respiratory failure, that is they require ventilator and they require oxygen for their therapy. Prone positioning has previously also been used as a modality of treatment in severe ARDS cases, whatever may be the cause. So it is not something new which is being done in COVID-19. Its response has also previously been seen, and same therapy has been tried in severely ill patients who are in ICU and who are not being able to ventilate by the normal conventional strategy.
All right, from here we are joined in by our next caller. We are joined in by Kshitija from Delhi. Good afternoon, Ms. Kshitija. Please ask the question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So I have this question that we live in government apartment and we have this terrace that would be shared by all the floor people. So I wanted to ask this question that can we go onto the terrace?
All right, yes, I would ask Dr. Neeraj to address this question. Time and again, you've been talking of how you can maintain hygiene. So that would be one way of addressing this, this concern of our viewer.
So again, when you are using a common space, please ensure that the timings which different families which are living in that particular apartment are different from what the others are using. And of course, all the area of the terrace will be high contact surface that multiple people will be touching. Then of course, you'll have to ensure that whatever you touch after that, you have to ensure that you wash yourself properly. And yes, social distancing has to be maintained. Of course, we all have been confined to our houses. So again, a fresh air is required. So going to terrace is not, I won't say it's completely contraindicated or you should not be doing, but again, social distancing and staggering time of various families using terrace should be done so that the chances of coming in contact with each other is minimized. And that way, the chances of getting infection will also be minimized.
All right, from here we go across to our next caller. Mr. Mahendra Kumar is joining us from Kolkata. Welcome to the show, Mr. Mahendra. Please ask the question.
If I stay at home, even then, can I be affected from this COVID-19?
Yes, Dr. Nitesh, would you address this question? The viewer says that he is at home. What are the chances of him being infected by COVID-19? And added to that, let's also talk of the precautions which we can take while staying at home.
Okay, so staying at home is safe. That is what we have been saying it since many days, since the lockdown began and we diagnosed the disease first time. Staying at home not only depends on your being at home, but about other members also. Suppose you have people who are coming from outside to your home very frequently, who are from hotspots or who have been in the contact with a positive case, then even your staying at home may make you catch an infection because others are bringing it from outside. So staying at home clearly states you are also at home and nobody else is also coming at your home. You are doing all your things by yourself. You just like you have been doing it previously, that all things have to be done by yourself. Then there are minimal chances of it coming to your home. It is only a carrier which can come to your home and can infect you.
All right. Dr. Nitesh, when we talk of there is still, if I may say, inhibitions, there is still hesitation among the people when we talk of coming to terms with COVID-19. People do not easily accept that they could be, they could be infected with the virus. We've had cases of people hiding their travel histories. We've had cases of people running away from isolation centers. You yourself have been part of this team at the Safdarjung Hospital as the nodal officer specifically for COVID-19. I would want you to explain to us what is it exactly that hits the mind of the people when they come to the hospitals with symptoms. Why is there such hesitation?
Yes, such hesitation and the symptoms thing is entirely related to people seeing what is around them and not seeing what are the good things. When a patient gets infected with coronavirus and is diagnosed for the first time, the patient always feels it is the end of the world and he is definitely going to die. All because he has been reading all about it. He has not been reading the figures that patients who have been healed and have been sent home. In all his mind, it is all about, this is the end for me. So whenever a patient comes to us for the first time, at first contact time, whenever we first go to the room, to the patient when he's kept in isolation, the first thing is what we do is we try to specify them. We try to extract the exact events which they have happened before they were diagnosed and try to take the history. This actually diverts their mind and the fear that they are infected with coronavirus. They gave us history just like a normal patient gives us, that this was my symptom chronology. This is how I have having symptoms, and now they have recovered in such a trend. Then we take a detailed contact history again with the patient whom all they have met.
All right, I think we have lost contact there with Dr. Nitesh. We'll try getting back to him again to talk more about that. Meanwhile, let's go across to Dr. Agarwal. So we were talking of how susceptible are the patients of dialysis. Now, how do you rate the possibility of the infection of COVID-19 in transplantation patients? Let's talk in detail about that as well.
You see, transplant patients are a little different from dialysis patients, because dialysis patient has to visit to hospital 3 times in a week. While transplant patient, although they are immunosuppressed and they are much more immunosuppressed than their immunity is much less than the dialysis patient, but they have advantage that they need not to go to the hospital as frequently as a dialysis patient. So if they are following all precaution of social distancing, hand hygiene, then it is not too much of a importance as far as transplant patient is concerned. However, they, as any other patient, they should continue to take their medicine for the transplant very regularly. The problem which we are facing in transplant patient is more of a social problem, in the sense that large number of these patients, at least who have got transplant done in our hospital, are across the India. So they are not able to get their immunosuppressive medicine which are required definitely for these patients for rest of the life. So what we have done, we are trying to, number one, we have developed a helpline number for Department of Nephrology, and a large number of patients are contacting to us and we are advising them. Second thing is that because they are not able to get the medicine, we have collected the number of the various chemist shop across the country, and we are guiding them that which is the nearest chemist shop from where they can get the medicine. And for some of the poor patient who gets their money on a monthly basis to purchase the medicine, we have organized some medicine to help such patient if they can come to our hospital and take a medicine. So these are social problem, but medically, if they get infection, then chances of getting serious infection is much more high. I want to bring through your channel one problem which dialysis patients are facing. You see, large number of dialysis patients are actually reimbursed either from their employer or from the government under central government health scheme. So what is the problem? That the employer and the government has fixed a fixed cost for dialysis. Now these dialysis units are intermittently facing a positive or a suspect patient.
All right. So this is one more concern which has been put forth by Dr. Agarwal for the dialysis patients. Financial support from the employer or from the government is what is of concern for the dialysis patients there. We're getting one question on our social media platform. Dr. Neeraj, I would want you to address this. Am I allowed to test COVID-19 detection RT-PCR in government hospital voluntarily? This is one part of the question. Added to this, there is another viewer who says, is it possible that a person with no symptoms of cold or cough, can he also infect others? Because as per experts and COVID-19 is spreading through droplets. So if a person is not infected with COVID-19, still can he have the potential of infecting others?
See, not infected or asymptomatic. So if a patient does not have symptoms and he has infection per se, then this is a droplet infection. So when we are speaking, droplets from our mouth invariably comes out, and we have this tendency of touching our mouth and nose again. We are contaminating our hand, and when we touch other surface or shake hand with anyone or touch anyone else, then chances of spreading that infection to that person is high. So that's why the most worrisome among all the infectious patient is the asymptomatic ones, because they are apparently healthy, but they have this virus and they can easily spread without themselves knowing, and others may get this infection. As far as voluntary testing as such, that rule is not there at the moment, and it's there are certain guidelines who can be tested for this particular infection. So if you don't have symptoms, if you don't have risk factors for contracting this infection, then you cannot get it tested right now as per the guidelines.
All right. Mr. Pappu Kumar Singh is joining us from Bihar. Welcome to the show. Please ask the question, sir.
हेलो,
Yes, please ask the question.
सर हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं सर?
जी जी, पूछिए अपना सवाल।
कह रहे थे कि हम औरंगाबाद बिहार से बोल रहे हैं। कह रहे हैं सर हमको 2-4 दिन से बहुत फीवर आ रहा है और सर में दर्द रह रहा है, पूरे बदन में दर्द रह रहा है, और यहाँ पर पास में कहीं पे कोई हॉस्पिटल खुला हुआ नहीं है। सरकारी हॉस्पिटल में जाते हैं तो सही तरीके से इलाज नहीं कर पाते हैं, बहुत दूर से ही बोलते हैं क्या प्रॉब्लम है, एक कालपोल दे दिए कि खाओ ठीक हो जाएगा, लेकिन जब खा रहे हैं तो ठीक है, फिर बाद में वही हाल हो जा रहा है। क्या करें सर, कोई उपाय बताइए। और एक चीज और था कि कोरोना का सही तरीके से कैसे हम पकड़ पाएंगे कि हाँ ये कोरोना का लक्षण है।
All right, Dr. Neeraj, please take this question. When a person gets all these symptoms, when is it that the person needs to see a doctor? And added to that, we know the 14-day window is there, but what is the approach that has to be taken up?
तो जैसे सबसे पहले तो आपको ये समझना होगा कि क्या आप ऐसे किसी जगह पे गए थे जहाँ पे कोरोना जो कोविड-19 के मरीज के कांटेक्ट में आने के आपके कोई चांसेस थे या नहीं, या आपका घर का कोई सदस्य?
तो आसपास में सर नहीं है ऐसा।
तो अभी जो है वायरल इन्फेक्शन, जो नॉर्मल रूटीन वायरल इन्फेक्शन होते हैं वो भी इस सीजन में काफी कॉमन होते हैं, जो हफ्ते भर तक नॉर्मली ठीक होते हैं और उसका सिम्टोमेटिक इलाज ही किया जाता है। तो अगर आप डॉक्टर से सलाह लीजिए, अगर उनको लगता है कि आप में ऐसा कोई रिस्क फैक्टर नहीं है जिसमें आप कोरोना वायरस के इन्फेक्शन होने के चांसेस हैं, तो अनलाइकली है कि आप में कोरोना वायरस का इन्फेक्शन होगा, और ये सिंपल सीजनल जो फीवर है या फिर बुखार किसी और कारण से भी हो सकता है। तो डेफिनेटली अगर हफ्ते भर में आप ठीक नहीं होते हैं तो आप नियरेस्ट हेल्थ सेंटर में जाके बाकी चीजों के लिए जरूर आप अपनी जांच करवाएं।
All right, so
यहाँ पर तो आप लोकेशन तो नहीं दिखा सकते हैं कि और कहाँ पे हॉस्पिटल है सर, यहाँ पे जाते हैं तो वही दूर से एक दवाई दे के कर देंगे जाएंगे।
all right, from here we will go across to our doctor who's joining us on Skype. Dr. Nitesh, when we talk of the medication, now there is this one question coming in from one of our viewers who asks this question, that since no vaccine has been is available for COVID-19, then what sort of medication is given to the patients? I think there is some technical glitch there. We're not getting across Dr. Nitesh there. Yes, please continue if you can hear me.
Yes. So currently, the cases are classified into mild case, a severe case, and a critically ill case. For mild case, in all the cases, symptomatic treatment has to be given. If a patient is having fever, antipyretics, patient is having sore throat, anti-allergic medications are given. The treatments are usually currently reserved only for critically ill patients. Whatever therapy is being tried, be it plasma therapy, be it hydroxychloroquine, be it remdesivir, all three are reserved only for a critically ill patient. They are not to be used in a patient who has mild symptoms, since we are still awaiting larger data on even on the efficacy as well as the side effects of these drugs. So currently they all are being used only for critically ill patients. Otherwise, the treatment remains symptomatic treatment. Usually with 5 or 6 days of symptoms, patient symptoms start.
All right, I think we've again lost contact there with Dr. Nitesh. Dr. Neeraj, would you continue with that?
So, like as Dr. Nitesh just mentioned, most of the patient will be requiring only symptomatic treatment per se, which is paracetamol, anti-allergic treatment, cough suppressant, and maybe for their acidity type of things, those non-specific complaints. And this treatment, whatever treatment we have been talking about, whether it's hydroxychloroquine, remdesivir, plasma therapy, and all other medicine which we are talking about, that has to be given through a controlled trial protocol which is being followed in various hospitals. So this is reserved for critically ill patients in which the life-threatening complications have happened, and we are trying to salvage their life. So per se, symptomatic treatment is the mainstay of therapy for.
I take this thought forward to Dr. Agarwal. Paracetamol, cough syrups is what is, for the patients who do not have very grave symptoms for COVID-19. Now, this is something which is available readily in our homes. So many a times when we have flu-like symptoms, when we have fever, we've got headaches, people generally resort to self-medication. How safe is that, Dr. Agarwal?
You see, these patients of COVID infection or similar type of flu usually initially needs to be treated only symptomatically, and the symptom wise these medicine which we have taken name of paracetamol or cough suppressant or for hyperacidity, these are the medicine which are otherwise also available across the counter. So I will suggest that for 1 to 3 days, if they are taking these medicine and the symptoms are mild, and after taking these medicines, their symptoms are stable or improving, then probably they can continue for 2-3 days more, and in that period of time they will improve. But after 2-3 days, if the symptoms are still persisting or if the symptoms are worsening, then probably without prescription continuing these medicine will not be a good idea, and at that time they must consult the doctor, and then whatever treatment is prescribed by the doctor at that stage, they should continue that rather than only continuing medicine taken across the counter on their own.
All right, from here we go across to our caller who's joining us from Ajmer. Mr. Ashwini is joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. Ashwini. Please ask the question.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. I request you to please first lower the volume of your television set.
Doctor, my wife is a dialysis patient, and we are doing peritoneal dialysis at home only.
All right. So please ask the question from our doctor, Mr. Ashwini.
Yeah, doctor, my wife is a dialysis patient, and I am doing peritoneal dialysis at home. What precaution I have to take, sir? Just I want to ask.
All right, important question coming in from one of our viewers. Dr. Agarwal, dialysis being done at home itself, what are the precautions that have to be taken?
You see, I mean, out of 2 dialysis, one is hemodialysis, other is the one which this gentleman is doing at home, which is peritoneal dialysis. So these patients, they should continue dialysis prescription as advised before this infection in last 2-3 months have appeared. So they should not change their dialysis prescription, so that they should not land up into emergency situation because of the inadequate dialysis being done. So they should continue whatever number of, we call exchanges of dialysis being advised to them, and follow the universal precaution in the terms of a hand hygiene and social distancing. Being a peritoneal dialysis patient, they already know the hand hygiene, because with that we train them for doing the peritoneal dialysis at home.
All right, from here we go across to Mr. Manoj Kumar from Delhi. Mr. Manoj, we are running short of time. Very quickly, please ask your question.
Yes, madam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam, my question is that I am demanding the item from the online, and delivery boy is delivering to my home. So what are the precautions would be taken for receiving the essential item delivered by the online marketers?
All right, Dr. Neeraj, would you address this question? There is also this recent case of a pizza delivery person getting infected, and more than 70 people have been quarantined.
So whenever you are taking delivery from somebody, of course, you'll have to ensure that you maintain adequate distance between him and you. And whatever container or whatever packet you are taking, of course, after that you will have to wash your hand properly. Whatever the outer container is, that you have to discard straight away. Say if you have ordered a pizza, for example. So of course you first after taking the content out of that, of course you have to discard the pizza. And to be on safer side, you can always reheat whatever food item, which eatables which you are getting, just to be doubly sure that you are not getting that infection through if somebody has touched that food after preparation with contaminated hand. Of course you can always reheat the food, and that should take care of that. But whatever thing you are taking from outside, ensure you take proper hygienic measures, and that should suffice.
All right, from here, we're running short of time. We'll go across to our Dr. Nitesh. Very quickly, closing comments, crisp, short closing comments coming in from you, since you are the nodal officer at Safdarjung Hospital for COVID-19. In these distressing times, what are very important three, points which would, three closing comments coming in from you, very quickly, 3 points which have to be taken care of by our viewers, very importantly. Yes, Dr. Nitesh, if I'm audible, very quickly to close the show, crisp, important points which you would give to our viewers.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, I think we've not been able to establish.
Hello?
Yes, Mr.
देश भर में कोरोना वायरस के मामलों की संख्या हुई 12,380, 1,488 लोग हुए ठीक, 114 लोगों की हुई मौत। कैबिनेट सचिव ने राज्यों के आला अधिकारियों के साथ वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग के जरिए कोरोना से निपटने का एक्शन प्लान किया साझा। प्रदेश में भी बढ़ी कोरोना संक्रमित मामलों की संख्या, 7